Welcome to this explainer. If you're in the C-suite, a CIO, a CISO, or leading operational resilience, we're diving into something today that is fundamentally flipping the script on crisis management. The exact title of our topic is Critical Validations, the invisible mechanism that actually governs business continuity. This entire approach is grounded in the Ransom-Kick resilience model developed by Arkeionis Group. So if your job is to make sure your company can actually survive, rebuild, and keep creating value after a massive hit, well, you're exactly where you need to be. Okay, let's dive right into this with a thought that really challenges the whole disaster recovery status quo. Think about this. Organizations often restore their systems. Resilient organizations restore their ability to decide. It hits hard, right? Because when disaster strikes, our knee-jerk reaction is almost always, fix the tech. But true business continuity, the kind that actually saves a company, it's all about decision-making. Honestly, if your leadership can't make and execute decisions, it literally doesn't matter how perfectly your IT systems are running. To get us to that level of true resilience, we've got a clear, governance-focused roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the illusion of continuity, then uncover critical validations and introduce the Ransom-Kick model. After that, we'll map out the business flow, look at the governance of resilience, and finally, building true anti-fragility. Let's get to it. Section 1. The illusion of continuity. Here, we really need to pull apart the difference between restoring systems and actually restoring business operations. So when we talk about continuity plans, the conversation almost always spirals into the highly visible stuff. Applications, servers, infrastructure, data. We've all seen it. IT and security teams pour in crazy hours and millions of dollars to protect these components. But here's the catch. While everyone is hyper-focused on all that tangible tech, they're completely missing the invisible mechanism, the actual gears turning behind the scenes that allow the organization to operate, move forward, and create value. Which leads us to a really uncomfortable question we have to ask ourselves to move past this pure tech focus. What actually happens when an organization can no longer validate? I mean, picture it. The technical infrastructure is totally fine. But the fundamental business permissions and authorizations, they just vanish. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact tension we see in major crises. On one hand, IT might declare victory because, hey, the servers are humming and applications are functioning. But over in operations, everything is completely dead in the water. Activities are blocked. Why? Because the data needed for an approval is gone, or the delegations of authority are locked up, or the decision makers themselves are simply unreachable. It looks like a tech failure, but really, it's a decisional failure masquerading as a technical one.
This brings us right to Section 2, Uncovering Critical Validations. We need to define exactly what these invisible mechanisms are and how they act as the ultimate gateways to corporate action.
In any normal, functioning enterprise, validations are literally everywhere. An order gets approved before it's packed. An expense is authorized before funds go out. A contract is validated. A payment is accepted. A decision is arbitrated. These everyday business objects and their validations are baked so deeply into your daily operations that you don't even notice them. They're invisible. You only realize they exist on the day your operational reconstruction fails. And suddenly, doing any of these basic things becomes completely impossible. Let's break down the actual sequence of how value is created. Notice it doesn't start with a piece of software. It starts with a validation. That validation is what enables a formal decision. That decision unlocks an action, and that action, that is what ultimately leads to value creation. Validations are basically the mandatory, non-negotiable gateways that turn mere possibilities into concrete operational reality. Knowing that, we move to Section 3, the Ransom-Kick model. This is a completely new strategic perspective on resilience developed by Arkeionis Group. Traditional disaster recovery is always asking, okay, which systems should we restore first? But the Ransom-Kick model, it flips the script and asks a much more strategic, executive-level question. What truly allows the organization to continue creating value? When you shift your mindset from protecting tech to preserving the capacity to create value, it points you naturally and inevitably straight back to those critical validations. Let's trace this logic out step by step. You start with a business object. Now that object requires a transformation. But that transformation simply cannot happen without a validation. The validation forces a decision, which then allows for value creation. It's such a powerful framework because it organically connects your on-the-ground operational continuity directly to high-level executive decision-making. Now, what's really fascinating here is how a validation acts like a filter that strips away uncertainty. Take a purchase request. At first, it's just a possibility, right? But the second it passes through a validation gateway, boom, it transforms into an authorized commitment. It moves from a maybe to a definitive action. Every single validation is what allows your corporate value to safely step from one state to the next.
So, what does this actually look like in practice? Let's move to Section 4, Mapping the Business Flow, and discover exactly where these hidden operational bottlenecks are lurking during a crisis. Imagine a very standard, tangible business flow. It kicks off with a customer order. That needs commercial approval, which moves us to preparation. Then you need logistics approval to allow shipment, which finally requires financial approval for invoicing. As long as these specific validations keep happening, the flow moves perfectly smoothly. But if just one of these validations drops off, let's say the delegation of authority for the commercial approval goes missing, the whole flow dramatically slows down. If you lose a few of them, the entire process stops completely. Which leads to this stark, undeniable reality that every C-suite executive really needs to internalize. An application being available does not mean the operational flow is restored. I'll say that again. Even if IT pulls off a flawless technical recovery and every server is green, your business flow is still completely blocked if your people can't execute their required validations.
And that is exactly why this isn't just an IT problem, it's a board-level issue. This takes us to Section 5, the governance of resilience, and the strategic visibility required to truly protect the organization. To get that strategic visibility, the Ransom-Kick resilience model mandates that organizations have to identify specific, non-technical elements. You absolutely must map your critical validations. You need to pinpoint your critical decision makers and their critical delegations. You have to know exactly what decision support information they rely on and map out all the dependencies tied to those validations. Doing this critical mapping complements and honestly gives real purpose to your traditional infrastructure mapping. It's a true demonstration of resilience readiness. So the crucial point here is that validations are literally the glue holding your enterprise together. They connect your on-the-ground operations to your data. They connect decisions to formal responsibilities and financial commitments. Critical validations are the exact, precise meeting point between high-level corporate governance and daily execution. Honestly, understanding your critical validations means finally understanding how your organization actually functions. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, Building True Anti-Fragility. Let's look at how mastering this invisible mechanism allows an organization to create, maintain, and rapidly rebuild value. Let's move forward and see how this builds into the ultimate sequence for true operational resilience. It starts with the business object and the data, which feed right into the business flow. But remember, it is the validation that enables the decision. That decision drives value creation, which culminates in genuine operational resilience. This right here, this is what an anti-fragile organization looks like. One that has preserved its capacity to function and rebuild regardless of the disruption. To synthesize this whole ecosystem really quickly, applications execute, data informs, business flows move value, but validations enable decisions. You absolutely need all four of these pillars working in concert. But without that final pillar of validations, the other three are essentially useless. Which leaves us with this absolute provocative truth. Without decisions, no organization can truly operate. And this is exactly why critical validations are, without a doubt, the most underestimated mechanism in business continuity and operational resilience today. If you're ready to look past the illusion of continuity and start mapping the true mechanisms of your organization, here are the resources you're going to need. This methodology was developed by Fabian POLISOIDIS, founder of the Ransom-Kick resilience model. You can utilize Arkeionis.app, a structuring and governance environment designed specifically to help organizations understand their dependencies, business flows, and critical validations. Definitely check out the YouTube channel Arkeon Group for more insights. You can also listen to the Spotify podcasts Conversations Resilience Ransom-Kick and Ransom-Kick Resilience Talks. For all the details, visit www.ransomkick.com and www.arkeionis.app. Remember the ultimate goal: create value, maintain value, rebuild value. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. So the next time a crisis hits, ask yourself, is your organization just restoring servers, or are you actually restoring your ability to decide?